Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Limitless Leadership Podcast. Before we get started, as you know, we look to transform our leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results. I got a great leader with us today, my friend, Mr. Curtis Gardner. Curtis is an Audi technician, been with your dealership now for 9 years.
Yep.
But Curtis, if you would, man, go ahead and share with the audience who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Promotive is a recruiting partner built specifically for the automotive aftermarket, giving shops a smarter and more reliable way to hire technicians. Their team brings decades of industry experience together with real recruiting expertise. So they not only understand the work, you can trust that they understand your shop. Promotive handles every part of the hiring process. They source talent proactively, screen candidates thoroughly, and guide them through a structured, high-touch experience. Shops only meet candidates who are qualified, aligned, and ready to move. Shops partner with Promotive because they communicate clearly, they move quickly, and take ownership of the hiring process. They don't just forward resumes, they act like a true recruiting arm for your business. To learn more or start a search, visit gopromotive.com. Book a call, submit an opening, and see how Promotive helps shops hire better.
Yeah, I've been a technician for 15 years. I started out doing oil changes and stuff. Just going to start from the beginning. Started out doing oil changes.
Okay.
Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I kind of went to community college, gave it a shot, and did oil changes. One of the techs there was like, hey, I went to Universal Technical Institute. You should give it a swing, try it out. So I met with one of their the people who come to your house and kind of tell you, they're like, hey, check this program out.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
We did that.
Okay. Kind of like a recruiter.
Yeah, recruiter. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
And did that, and then we got me signed up. So then I think about 6 months out of high school, I went down to UTI. And that's how it all started for me. Got a job at Toyota, doing oil changes there, and eventually moved up once I graduated. Was there for about 6 to 7 years, like right in between, and moved into Audi, moved into a great company here in the area for Audi, and been there for 9 years. It's been all over the place, from being a group leader to just being a technician to, speaking at events and, speaking at company events and stuff like that. It's been one heck of a ride.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying my hardest to help technicians out, help young technicians in the industry grow, learn, be the mentor that maybe I didn't really have growing through the industry, and set a good example, help some technicians start out the right way.
Yeah, well, and you're doing a great job of it, man. I mean, something that, you and I connected through social media. We connected probably on LinkedIn first, and then Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, folks, Curtis has a great following on all these platforms. He is really good at what he does. And what he does is he is a great mentor. He is someone who, daily you're posting great content. And I saw the content. I'm like, man, this guy is like really good at what he's sharing, and you're delivering great knowledge. But we know that knowledge without action is just information. And so what I see a lot of your posts be about is something that you and I actually even touched on right before we went live, and that is accountability and really holding ourselves accountable first, right? You mentioned here in the area. Well, the area is in Houston. So if you're listening to this episode, you can also watch this episode. Curtis is at my house. We're recording live in person in the Houston area. And man, I'm glad that we finally get a chance to do this. I see the things that you share with your audience, and I wanted my audience to be able to get an idea of who you are and all those great things as well. You mentioned having the opportunity to be in leadership as well and help lead young technicians, not just on social media, but even at your dealership. One of the questions I ask every guest to share on this podcast is, what does leadership mean to you? Curtis, if I were going to ask you the same question, how would you answer that? Hey folks, running an auto repair shop, it's tough. We know that. And between managing repairs, keeping customers happy, and handling front office tasks, there's never enough time in the day. That's where Hub Shop Solutions comes in. Hub takes the burden off your team by building fast, accurate repair estimates and handling extended warranties, so you can focus on what really matters, running a profitable, efficient shop. With Hub, you free up your team, you boost efficiency, and you increase profits. So sign up now and get free onboarding. Visit hubshopsolutions.com to schedule a demo today. HubShop Solutions. Unlock your shop's full potential.
I mean, I don't know if I have a definition for what it means to me, but I think it just means more of being able to set a good example and really prepare whoever you're speaking with to just go out into the world and do what's right for the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's leadership or just being a good person, but if I'm coming into contact with somebody that I feel like I could make a positive impact on their life, I mean, whether it's just complimenting someone, I mean, you don't know what people are going through in their daily life, and most of the time, they're living a life that you would never expect. So if I can go out and I can, make a positive impact on a random person on the street or a technician or somebody on social media, and if I can just say, hey, you're doing a great job, keep it up, it's going to get better, things are going to get better, keep your head up, try this, try that. That's kind of what leadership, I guess, means to me, is just going out and trying to make the world a better place.
How important is it for us as leaders to get to know our team members on a deeper level, and not necessarily where we're intruding on their own personal space, but you mentioned how people have things going on in their life that a lot of us don't know about. And, we all have life outside of work. But how important is it for us to understand where their head may be at, where their heart may be at, so that we can adequately and effectively lead them?
I just try to, I'm going to say assume here, but I'm just trying to assume the best of people and the best in people, and just go into it, just like you said, you don't really know what's going on. You don't know what's in their head, and just go into it with good intentions. Go into it and see, can I help this person? And it's hard because there's a lot of negativity in not just the industry, but in the world, especially with social media.
Yeah.
And that's where I have most of my interactions, is through social media. And it's just like, somebody might leave a nasty comment, and it's just like, okay, my first instinct is to leave a nasty comment in return. And I've learned that you just got to take a step back and say, this person is upset for some reason, and it's probably not for anything that I said or did.
Yeah.
But how can I maybe help them or inspire them to, not necessarily take their comment back, but learn from just my response. And
that's
I think
good.
That's probably the biggest thing for me, and that's where I've had the most opportunity, is through social media.
Yeah.
Because the shop is small. We've got 30 or 40 techs, which is a big shop, but through social media, it's allowed me so much more time to interact with strangers, and not in person, because that's completely different, because most of the people won't say those mean things to your face.
Sure. Thankfully.
Yeah, it's just try to go into it with positivity. How can you positively say something, or just say something that's constructive to, I don't know if influence, but help that person be like, wow, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Let me see if I can learn from what he said, or in response to my comment.
I appreciate the fact that you shared that. All right, folks, as you know, great leadership isn't about doing everything the best. It's actually about having the right partners in your corner to build your shop's success. It's about putting the right team in place. It's about choosing the right vendors to make you a pro, making pro moves. And when I think about the pros, I think about shop marketing pros. The know, like, and trust factor, that's a real thing. And Shop Marketing Pros understands that. That's why I want to recommend Shop Marketing Pros to become your marketing partner in your shop. They get to know, like, and trust you and your business to then help your audience get to know, like, and trust you too, and bring your shop to the next level. So when I talk about making pro moves, this is the kind of move I'm talking about. This is the kind of standard-setting partnership that's going to elevate your shop. So if you're ready to become a pro in your shop, visit shopmarketingpros.com and partner with the best. Let's speak to someone who is attempting to grow their brand on social media, or let's say they're wanting to post something periodically, but they're concerned about what others are going to say or what others are going to think, and there's a lot of things that we think about maybe posting on social, even if we're not like necessarily trying to be like an influencer or anything, just, you want to post things like on Facebook, for example, but someone has got to share their opinion, and it's like,
I always do.
man, can we just like all get along? Let me ask you this, because you have a pretty extensive following on your social media platforms, and with an extensive following, you're going to get some nasty comments periodically. How 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 do you receive the negative comments, the negativity, and compartmentalize in a way where you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to keep on pressing on. I'm going to post again tomorrow. I'm going to do it again the next day and again the next day, without allowing that one person or those two people to just completely stop the trajectory that you're on?
It's hard. There's plenty of days where I feel like, why am I doing this? Or, if I take a day off, sometimes it's really hard to focus on the positive, especially on social media. And for the people who are just wanting to post, whether it's their personal stuff or they want to just help, you just got to start doing it.
Yeah.
Because your first video is not going to be the best video. It'll probably be, your worst. You might make, worse ones in the future, but you just got to start, because you're going to be able to learn, and people are always going to say mean and bad things, especially through social media. There will always be there. That will never change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me, being a technician in a shop, I've dealt with a lot of those behind your back comments and comments you hear from other people for 15 years as a high performer in the shop. That's what happens. People are, whatever they're feeling.
Yeah.
Can't assume that. I don't know, but
Well, we can say that what they're feeling is coming from a place that's often rooted in insecurity and immaturity, professional immaturity. And so there's a reason that they're saying those things and doing those things, not to suggest that it's okay, but a lot of the people who are posting the negative comments and the saying the things, behind the back, and it's often rooted in insecurity and immaturity. And this is where you get to. And by the way, Curtis, I realized I cut you off, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I will say is this: the way you are leading your industry, the way that you are showing up for people who don't feel like they have a voice, I want to commend you for that, because it's not easy. You're doing a great job. Normally I ask you to share at the end of the episode where we can find you on social media, but because we're talking about it, I'm going to go ahead and ask you now, like, where can our audience find you on social media?
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into that because I want to continue what I was saying, but my biggest social media handle is Technar. So it's TECHGNARR.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and then for LinkedIn, which is becoming a big platform of mine, it's just Curtis Gardner.
Okay.
So, kind of just want to jump back in because I feel like talking about like the comments, it's not. I want to start with in person because that I think hits home the deepest.
Okay.
And I've dealt with those for 15 years, and I'll lead into the social media stuff because it'll kind of tie into what you were just saying.
Perfect.
I've learned to just roll with the punches. People are going to say what they're going to say, and as long as your management team believes in you and your leadership believes in you, that you're doing what's right, whatever people are saying at your place of work or in your personal life, as long as the people, we'll just say in a work environment, your leadership believes in you, then all that stuff is just between what you hear and what goes on in your head.
Okay.
And I've dealt with that. So I know that it hurts, and then you just got to let it roll off your shoulders. And I'm not that person that they say I am. But what really got me on social media is that people will do that, but then they're going to personally attack you. And that was what probably cut deepest, because I want to let those comments roll off, but they're personal attacks. And those, I might just ignore it, but I'm still thinking about it. And it's, I've heard several people talk about it. You just let it go. And yes, I agree. But those comments and those things, they cut deep, because it's like the way you look, the way you talk, the way you sound, your thoughts on this. And it's like,
yeah,
it's hard, but I think those same people are just struggling to make a connection with maybe themselves. They're struggling to make a connection with people around them. And if I snap back at them, I'm not helping them. I'm not helping the people around me. I'm setting a bad example for someone that could be reading that. because I've posted comments and within like 5 minutes, I'm like, no, I'm going to delete that because
Mm.
that was mean. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have said that, or it was uncalled for. And so that being said, is social media has helped me grow in a lot of different ways because I've been able to take some of that negativeness and turn it. How can I turn this around in a positive manner? And how can I, even though I didn't leave the comment, how can I hold myself accountable and help some of those people who leave those negative comments?
Yeah.
And you mentioned my following and stuff like that is, I think it's hard for me to grow because my niche is very specific. I talk about some pretty sensitive stuff, some pretty abnormal stuff. And without being able to post it in the shop through the company I work through, it's very just like me in my car, me and talking to the camera,
Yeah.
which is growing into something I didn't know it could.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would have more serious conversations and talk in a way that I didn't expect myself to talk a year ago when I started. And so it's really helped me grow, not just on social media, but personally, taking accountability, communication, helping people, helping myself, helping others around me, stuff at home, personal life stuff. So it's a crazy journey that I've been on. And it's helping me grow in ways that I would have never anticipated.
I love hearing all of what you just shared. I didn't realize you only started a year ago.
Yeah, about a year and a couple months ago, like a
And,
month or two.
and you have a strong following. Something that I admire and respect about the content that you post is it is authentic. It's you in your car talking to the camera. And it reminds me, so if you're familiar with, or for those listening, Jefferson Fisher. Jefferson Fisher is I would say a communications expert. He's a lawyer in Texas. I want to say Beaumont, and he just released a book recently as well. But he started posting content, posting videos from his car, and it just kind of blew up. And it's interesting because you're doing something very similar, and you're blowing up, and you're creating a strong following. But again, I want to go back to something I shared earlier. You are helping people who don't feel like they have a voice. One thing I'm very mindful of as a leadership coach in this tremendous industry is helping clients recognize how important it is that their team members' voices are heard, their opinions matter, and their ideas are considered. Because we often will go to work and maybe we don't feel like those things are occurring, and we just kind of feel like our voice is silenced. And it's like, well, what difference does it make what my opinion is, because I'm never asked for it, and when I am asked for it, I get shut down. Speak to the listening audience who might feel like they're in that position right now where they're working at a place where they don't feel like their leaders or managers believe in them the way that you talked about earlier. You said as long as their leaders and managers believe in them. Well, what if they don't feel like their leaders or managers believe in them? And furthermore, what if they don't feel like they have a voice, their opinions matter, or their ideas are considered? How do we still continue to exercise self-leadership and self-development amidst those challenges?
I don't usually like to talk about myself in this way because it feels a little big-headed, but a lot of people have referenced or referred to me as the voice of the technician, and
Yeah.
some people in the
Yeah.
industry and in higher positions or more notoriety than myself. And I'm starting to buy into the concept of it, but I don't like to label that way. It just feels a little weird. But
Curtis, that just speaks to your level of humility, which I admire hugely about you. But if you're not going to say it, I'll say it. The voice of the technician. Keep on going.
okay, well, I mean, it all started because I wanted to bring technicians to the table. I wanted to have those conversations that are being talked about with technicians because they aren't being heard, they aren't being included, and there's huge conversations. I mean, technicians are probably the biggest part of a dealership, and there's all these conversations being had about technicians, and there's not any technicians talking for technicians.
Yeah.
And I think it takes somebody who's level-headed and sees the negative and positive of both sides, because technicians have pros and cons, management have pros and cons, ownership has pros and cons, and there's everything. And being able to look at it from a multi-sided point of view is what I hope to bring to the table. And I've been thankful enough that Ted Ings, if you've heard of him, has given me the opportunity to come to some of these events that he's holding, to be on some of the panels that he's having, and speak just like that, and speak in a way that's, can be heard through some of these people who are in leadership positions through companies and dealerships. And so to the people who feel like their voices aren't being heard, is it kind of just leads into what we were saying. We don't know what's going on with our managers' lives. We don't know what's going on in their personal lives. And if you see a lot of the stress and a lot of the pressure and a lot of the influence they're getting from up above or
Mm-hmm.
from adjacent parties, you probably would never think that they're ignoring you on purpose. You just be like, they're so wrapped up in what they've got to deal with
Yeah.
that when they hear a concern or a complaint, if you will, if there's not a solution attached to that, it's probably going to be out of sight, out of mind. And it's not that they're ignoring you, it's just they probably have a huge plate that's very full.
Yeah.
And they're running so many things. And if you don't take a step back and realize that they've got a job, you've got a job. And it's like, if you're going to come to the table with, like, bring up to your manager, I don't feel like I'm being heard. Okay, send an email. Because sometimes a conversation, they may be thinking of 10 other things when they're talking to you. And
Yeah.
you might
Well
say it
said.
and they're going to be like, boom, right out the side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not anything intentional. It's just they're so caught up in what's going on outside of that particular conversation that is probably going to be forgotten. So my philosophy is, if you're going to bring a problem to the table, you either bring a solution or you recognize and said, hey, I've tried thinking about this solution, and this solution, and I don't think any of these are fit. Do you have a recommendation for something?
I like that.
Kind of bringing that to, that's what I always suggest technicians that ask me for advice, is they don't feel like they're being heard, is go talk to the person that directly you would consider a superior and bring the problem, and then bring a couple solutions that you think that would work. You're more likely to get their attention, not than just like a complaint, because I feel like that doesn't carry the same weight.
That's so good. You were talking about essentially being a technician coach, a technician mentor. You are the voice of the technician. So I'll say it. I like that, and it fits you very well too. How about the best advice you've ever received from a coach or a mentor?
I might have to come back to this one. I was kind of thinking about it because you prepped me for this one.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I've received maybe a worded piece of advice. Maybe it was an example.
Okay.
And we were talking about it just a little bit before, is someone I was working with, Ed Roberts, he remembers everybody's name in his dealership, and every person's name that I've seen him come in contact with, he remembers their name. He remembers a little bit of their story. And that for me sets a good example of what true leadership means, is the ability to connect with the people around you, whether they're people above you, below you. There shouldn't be ranks to that. It's just he's able to connect with people on a personal level. And he may never talk to that person outside of work, but he remembers stuff about their family. He remembers stuff about when they started, about what their job is, when they started, and their path. And I thought that, for me, was a perfect example of what leadership is investing your time and your care to the people around you.
Yeah, love that. Connection creates engagement, and engagement increases performance. So as business owners, as shop leaders, we always want to increase performance. We want to increase sales and increase revenue and so forth and so on. If we want that, my focus would be on the people, because our people are our greatest assets. When we connect with our people, we create engagement. And this is important because 77% of employees are disengaged at work. The byproduct of engagement is an increase in performance. So I'm not going to suggest that we connect with people so that we can increase performance. I am going to say we can connect with people because we care about them, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So we connect because we care. And the cool thing is the byproduct is an increase in performance. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a great book by Dale Carnegie. In fact, it was one of the first professional development books I ever read, which was not that long. I mean, it was, a dozen years ago, but for all intents and purposes, it wasn't that long ago. That book has been around for over 100 years. And in the book, what we learn is that the sweetest sound to any person in any language is the sound of a person's name. So the fact that Ed, here I am, like the irony of this, I'm forgetting, was it Ed that you said? Okay. Yeah. So the fact that Ed remembers everyone's name, he makes it a point to call them by name. He makes it a point to reference something about that person, their family, their hobbies, their interests, their likes, dislikes, whatever. Like there's something about that person that I'm thinking of, and I call them by name, and I reference something that is personal to them. Think about the level of engagement that person has all of a sudden. And again, I'm not doing that because I want this person to be like the greatest salesman in my company or the best technician. I'm doing it because I care. And the byproduct is the things that we just talked about. So,
You take care of your people, and they'll take care of your customers.
amen. That
And
is so good.
I won't say my company's name, but I wouldn't be here without the things that I've learned through what they've taught me through their golden standards and their just the way that they set an example for their associates.
Yeah.
I've taken a Dale Carnegie class through them. I've read the book, read multiple books from Dale Carnegie, and they just put me through a high impact presentations class through Dale
Okay.
Carnegie.
Yeah.
And those opportunities wouldn't have happened without them, and I wouldn't be here without them. And so I think maybe I'm in my head about and overthinking it, but I think I haven't given enough credit to how they've helped me grow, not just as a technician, but as a leader in the shop and a leader outside of the shop.
Yeah.
And all those things you just spoke about are things that they push and help and help their associates grow in just those ways. They take care of us, and in turn, we take significant care of the customers and the internal customer, which is the people around us.
I love that. And it's no surprise now that you've been there for so long because they're a company who truly believes in investing in their people. You know what's interesting is Warren Buffett, I mean, one of the richest men in the world. And when people ask him, hey, Warren, what was your greatest investment that you ever made? People are expecting him to say something along the lines of Berkshire Hathaway and other investments that he's made from a financial perspective. But he will always say his greatest investment was when he started investing in himself, and he began by taking the Dale Carnegie course years ago. He was a young man, I want to say in his early 20s, and I myself have taken the Dale Carnegie course. However, my financials pale in comparison to Warren's, but still, I do strongly believe in investing in yourself. Spiritually, physically, emotionally, academically, financially, being able to invest in yourself is the greatest investment you can make, because I mean the ROI is truly priceless, but the things that you learn, it's life changing. These are life skills and things that can truly change your perspective. And with perspective, the way that we view things drives the way that we do things. And sometimes you go to a Dale Carnegie course, for example, or a convention or a conference, or you read a book or you listen to a podcast, you hear one thing that you never heard before. It changes your perspective. You start viewing things differently. You subsequently start doing things differently, and it completely changes your life because you chose to invest in yourself. And so I can't speak highly, more highly about that opportunity. That's why, as a leadership coach in this industry, Limitless Leadership, if you're listening and you're thinking, you know what, maybe it is time to start thinking about getting coaching or just working on myself, reach out. I mean, find me at limitlessleadership.co and let's jump on a discovery call, and we can talk about what coaching looks like to help you go from great to greater. Because ultimately, as I shared when I opened this podcast, we help people tap into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results. But this podcast isn't about me, Curtis. So I'm going to stop talking about limitless leadership. I'm going to go back to you, my friend.
Well, you bring up a good point about personal investment. Regardless of the price, sometimes that's what holds people up in some of these things.
You're right.
Is sometimes the price is intimidating, but at the same time is if you've had the coaching and you've had the experience on a smaller level, and then you see the improvement and you see the value of it, you're more likely to invest a little bit more. And then, I mean, I've heard plenty of podcasts where people with tons of money, companies, entrepreneurs, owners, CEOs, and how much money they spend on themselves, not just physically, but through courses, through classes, through networking, and through all these things. You're like, wow, that's insane. And everyone's like, oh, it's because they have so much money. And it's like, no, you probably look back and think, they'll tell you themselves, they had started investing in themselves early on.
Yeah.
What are that money they started making as an entrepreneur, they're investing it in themselves. And like you said, the return on investment of that has led them to now lead this company or lead this podcast or lead this conversation because they were investing in themselves so early on.
I can tell you the the greatest investment I made was when I hired a counselor years ago, because at the time I was really struggling with my own thoughts and learning how to take control and manage my thoughts. What we know is that our thoughts dictate feelings, our feelings dictate actions, and our actions dictate results. But years ago, I knew that I needed professional help to work on my mindset. And when I reached out to a number of different resources, I thought, I can't afford this, because I wasn't making it a part of my budget. And finally got to a point where I'm like, no, I have to do something, because it's getting really out of hand, quite frankly. And so my initial thought was, I can't afford this. But when I started going to counseling, and by the way, I interviewed 4 different counselors before I found the one that I worked with for a couple years. And after the first couple sessions with my counselor, my thinking went from I can't afford this to I can't not afford this. And that's why to this day, I still work with my own coach. I work with a counselor. And people know, if they listen to the podcast regularly, they've heard me say this before, but I have a coach, I have a counselor. I'm also married to a licensed counselor. And so I'm getting all the help I can get. And I'm glad, because she's great at it and I need it. But ultimately, I know that the trajectory that we're going on, it could not be possible without the counseling investment from years ago. So as you shared earlier, Curtis, we can find you on social media, on LinkedIn, Curtis Gardner. We can find you on Instagram, Technar, so TECHGNARR.
Correct. It's a little bit of a mouthful to say, but yeah.
And so offline, you shared with me before, that's a combination of like technician and your name, right?
Yeah. So the like small business, like my small business name, which isn't even really doing anything, but it's Nard.
Yet.
It's Nard
Not doing anything yet.
LLC.
Okay.
And so that's my last name, just jumbled up.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, how can I make something technician related, but also unique that stands out? So I was like, threw some ideas together, and that's how Technar came in. So it's like a little bit of my last name and technician stuff. So it felt right, and it sounds like Technar. It's like, oh, okay, that's just become me. That's become what I'm growing. That's become, I guess you could say, Technar is a movement. It grows outside of what I'm doing and what I'm saying, and so I'm very, very proud of it. Like I said, only a year in, it's crazy, the growth.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And if you're listening or watching this episode, go follow Curtis. He is so good at what he does. He is the voice of the technician. I'll say it again. Man, keep doing your thing. Keep rocking it. Before we go, a question I ask every guest is, what's the best advice you've ever received from a coach or a mentor? I'll ask you, before we go, any parting words of wisdom? What's the best advice you could give to our listening audience today?
Best advice that I wish somebody would have helped me with earlier is open-mindedness and accountability. And that's not just personal, but that goes with, you might not agree with something that someone says or that's something that you read, but go into that situation with an open mind and understand it from their point of view. And while you still might not agree, don't put them down. Don't say negative things about them. Understand their thoughts, their words, and be like, okay, I understand why you're saying this or the reasoning behind it. You don't have to tell them you disagree, but just understanding that is going to help your thought process evolve. It's crazy. It's crazy with just keeping an open mind and keeping... I don't know. There's no other way to say it besides just keeping an open mind. I think that's, once I started doing that the last few years, I've really started to just soak in so much more ideas, soak in so much more thoughts, soak in so much more feelings from other people, and understand, any situation so much better. Is just keep an open mind and hold yourself accountable before you hold. I think I didn't say this, but I don't know who said it, but it was, some people aren't willing to look in the mirror before they look out the window.
Oh,
and
that's strong.
I think that was Chris Craig, which I believe you just released an episode with.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if he got that from somewhere, but I believe that's where I heard it from. And I thought that was the perfect way to say it. I mean, because you can think it, but the way he said it, I was like, That was very good.
Yeah.
I really respect that thought process.
Awesome. Shout out Chris Craig. Well, man, hey, Curtis, once again, thank you for being here. You were an awesome guest. This will not be your last time on the Limitless Leadership podcast, my friend.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. As always, as you know, we look to transform our leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile today. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.